Hello and welcome to another 20th anniversary review of Weekly Shonen Jump, American edition. This time, June 2003. Coming to you live from well, not live, this will be uploaded later, but coming to you almost live from POW Card Games and Comics in bright and sunny Port Ewan, New York. My name is Skylar Hathaway.
I'm Chris Potter.
Welcome to the show. We are skipping the Weekly Wednesday Warrior this week for those of you that watched that show. We just had too much going on. But here we go. We got the June 6th issue, number 6. This is our fifth video doing Shonen Jump. So if you haven't checked out the other ones, this gives you some reason to do so. Cover is Yusuke Urameshi. I think it's the first cover we've gotten with Yusuke on it, right?
Yeah.
I think this is one of the only covers in history with Yusuke on it.
He's the front runner this time, too.
That's too true. For no apparent reason, either, you know. We got some GT details inside of here. Not a whole lot in this issue outside of the interview that we're going to get to. And they underplayed the interview all the way down here for some reason. Which is...
I think it's the second Kishimoto interview. I think I remember another one.
Yeah,
I thought this one was better than the last one.
It's possible. There are definitely some canned questions by Shonen Jump in here, though.
Yeah.
But moving right along, we got this crazy ad over here that I have to make note of for the Legacy of Goku game. Have you ever played those games, Chris?
I've heard of them.
They're Game Boy Advance games for the most part, and they're good.
People really like that Kid Buu one for some reason.
They're fun. I didn't enjoy these games, if I'm being honest with you. They were like top-down RPGs kind of, but they were like kind of like Pokemon in the way that you got through levels and stuff.
Yeah.
And but it didn't have the same rewards as Pokemon. You're not building a team, you're just following the story of Dragon Ball.
Right.
And the controls are Game Boy Advance based, so they're not elaborate or anything. They're kind of silly. It's a lot of like pressing A to spam energy beams to kill your opponent and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know, they were fun, I guess. This ad is more fun than the game, I think, was.
It's a pretty good rendering of Super Saiyan hair. In live action, people do this wrong all the time.
Yeah, I've seen some wacky stuff. Moving right along. This lineup is killer. I think this was the best lineup that we've gotten so far. I think that this came in really, really well, because this is probably my favorite manga that we're reading in here. This is probably my second favorite manga that we're reading in here.
Really?
Shaman King has been pretty good. Sandland is really good. Yu-Gi-Oh! Gets even better in this issue. Dragon Ball Z is always amazing. Might be the best manga in the comic, but since me and Chris have beaten the heck out of this in several mediums, it's just not as rewarding as all. And then I know that Chris's probably favorite is One Piece over here. This is my least favorite, so like saving it for last, fine with me.
It is not my favorite manga.
It's not? Okay. I'm glad you said that, because I thought that this particular couple chapters was really lacking, too. This has been probably my least favorite portion of One Piece so far.
It'll get worse before it gets better.
Oh, no! All right. We got the credits page. Only notes, same notes as last time, as all these English adaption people, which is up here.
Yeah.
Note Joe Duffy, our favorite, because she's responsible for many, many books.
Yeah.
But look at that. We got one page right here. One page, and then boom, we're already in the Ninja Master Kishimoto interview of Misashi Kishimoto.
Yeah.
This was cool. There's quite a bit here. This is 3-4 pages long.
Yeah.
And there's a couple like sidebars that even went on. This is plenty to rip apart. My first note was that he drew a lot growing up, and he's bad at deadlines.
Makes some sense.
That's pretty manga typical.
Yeah.
He even goes as far as to say that he went to school for drawing, and that it was like working backwards.
Yeah.
He said that he had done enough in his own time to not have the necessity of school. He does say that like he learned some like figure drawing and stuff.
Yeah, from my experience, they do take you back before they take you forward. A lot of reteaching drawing fundamentals.
Yeah, and I'd say that about all kinds of school.
Yeah.
They're in schooling. They have to kind of do that just because they're teaching a bunch of students, so they have to make sure that all of these students are on the same level. The only way you can do that is by teaching the basics before you get to the more advanced kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's just the way it goes. He says that he likes Dragon Ball up until Frieza makes an appearance.
Yeah, it's on page 1.
I was offended by that. He obviously is not a Z fan, is what he's trying to communicate.
I don't think that's what he's saying, because I have heard him on separate occasions talk about how excited he was when Goku fought the Ginyu Force, and Goku, like, uses the Kaioken. I think probably much like Toriyama, he just doesn't like Super Saiyans.
I guess he's more like he likes the funnier stuff, too. Like, Ginyu Force is a perfect example of that. That's when
and then he mentions Dr. Slump, too, so, like, that's a whole comedy manga.
Yeah. So he's more into the humor, which makes sense. He states somewhere in here the importance of having a good editor. And not just a good editor, but a good editor who's supportive. I think that's interesting because I don't know that we have a lot of great editors in comics right now. Even though every time I turn around, the like writers and artists in the industry are praising editors these days. I don't know why. They never say why. They're never. It's
They're
like
just friendly.
They really helped keep this book together. What does that mean? They hit you up twice a week to make sure you met your deadlines.
Yeah.
Sometimes I guess that's all that is. It's amazing how bad these people are at getting their deadlines done.
We get a little group shot of the team that works on Naruto.
I was so mad at this.
Okay.
This didn't make any sense. You can't tell who the leader is, right? Kishimoto is obviously lead, and this we're going on a tirade that is not even worth spending time on, but I'm gonna do it anyway. This should be Kishimoto in the front. Who are these 5 people?
The only one I was going to mention is Ikemoto's the guy who draws Boruto now.
I don't even mean like who are these names. I mean, who are these people?
Okay.
You know?
I don't know.
Like, why are they all in suits? Is this Reservoir Dogs?
I think probably.
This must be Reservoir Dogs? I don't know what's going on here. I don't even know who does the art to this either, you know? I don't like stuff like this. I don't like it when shoved in here. I want stuff like this. Or stuff like this, where I know that this dude just drew this because he likes ramen, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if this is him. I don't know if this is Jump being clever, throwing a funny joke. Ooh, look, 5 guys. Ooh, we'll put names on them.
I've seen that
look
before.
Cool.
I think that is just a piece of art.
Canned art.
Mentions Akira a lot here, like really in depth. Talks about having some appreciation for animation cells. And the Marvel version of Akira, he talks about coloring at one point.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that he goes into depth because he's talking about the movie.
Yeah.
He doesn't mention any of the manga, which comes
he mentions
out
the American version.
Comes out way later, the manga anyway. But he's really talking about the movie
and how it influences him,
which is cool and stuff. I wish he'd say that he was an appreciator of the manga though, because it's way better.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's totally there. How can you not be influenced by Otomo's stuff, especially since that dude had no background in the medium of film and was directed the entirety of that movie. So that says something about that dude's work ethic.
Well, he is the first person to mention him, so I thought it would be notable.
We haven't heard the name Akira or Kishimoto in here. Actually, technically, the interview is the first person to mention him.
We haven't heard Otomo before, no.
I thought it was
as an influence. We've Geiger, Mignola.
Yeah.
Probably just because Akira is so synonymous, might not even be something worth mentioning. Everyone is inspired by Akira at some point. But
yeah, and this proves that, too. The interviewer did a little bit of research.
Yeah, I thought he asked a lot of very specific questions throughout here.
Some of them are silly.
Yes, but I do appreciate at least the attention to looking into Kishimoto's life pretty in-depthly. Obviously, reading other interviews where he's mentioned humorous anecdotes and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it shows better research than we usually see in these interviews.
Okay. And, I would not be surprised if he didn't read Akira, because it says that he entered art college in 1993.
Yeah.
And that's, like, when Otomo was really going hard on, like, working on the manga and stuff. So it must have been coming out while he was going to school. Can't imagine you're going to ignore that stuff as it's coming out, you know? But he just wanted to make a point that, like, it was the movie that jump-started his interest here, really influenced his lines and stuff.
They mentioned his art supplies, I think, here.
G-pens and millipens.
Yeah, I was really upset they cut it off, because one of the things I'm most interested in is how these guys apply color. Kishimoto says he's a traditional guy.
Yeah, analog.
Yeah, but they, there's like an ellipses, so I imagine either that's a break in the conversation, or they just cut off some of what he was saying. I would really like to hear from him. You know, is he using those Doc Windsor dyes or whatever that like Kirby and Toriyama use? Is he using watercolor?
What he goes
markers?
What he goes on to say is that he really tries not to use color.
Yeah, but he does do color pages, so I am interested in what those were made of.
Sure. Yeah.
That's something we've speculated on before in this show, so I was hoping we'd get an answer.
Yeah, fair enough. He goes in and says what his assistants do and stuff too here, which is cool. And he stresses, I don't know if, you know, he might be trying to, I don't know these people that they do interviews on, obviously, so I don't know how truthful they're being. And, you know, when time crunches come down to it, you got to do what you got to do. So people might be taking other duties as deadlines come. But he really tries to stress that I don't have that much time, so the assistants help me out by inking my backgrounds.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only credit he gives to him, is inking backgrounds. I'd bet, though, that they do printing and emails and maybe even answering fan letters and, you know, the stuff that other manga assistants do as well.
Yeah, it's possible they're talking to Jump Editorial for him, too. Just knowing the basic drafts of the story.
Yeah, probably not as much. It seems like the editors are really frickin' hands-on with manga people. But I can't imagine the only thing they're doing is backgrounds. If you go and look at Naruto, the backgrounds are nice, but a lot of the time it's not even there.
Yeah.
They're focusing on the action and stuff. So
he does also say, like, down here that he draws all the backgrounds himself, which is something we've previously not attributed to him.
Yeah,
so at least he pencils them.
Yeah, and then he says that they ink the background. These assistants have to do more. There's no way he has 4 assistants that are inking backgrounds exclusively and doing nothing else. He goes on to say that this character, Jiraiya, is based on a legendary ninja from Edo. It's an Edo folktale about a mystic frog-riding ninja. Yeah. Went and did a little research there because I didn't know that was the case. And he stresses that that's the only character he took from folklore and stuff. He's wrong, though, because technically the Nine-Tailed Fox is a character that you could say that he's
I think he was talking about ninja folklore specifically.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's blending a lot of cultural influences into Naruto. That's how he's gotten to Naruto. And they don't really talk a whole lot about that until, I think, this page, and they start talking about the representatives of each of the our main characters. Yeah. They're spirit animals, I guess.
Yeah.
He makes a note that Jump makes it very consistent that they're looking for character in manga. They want people that people can relate to, and people that have depth to them and aren't simple and stuff. Which I think is kind of funny because I'd say that most of these shonen characters are pretty similar. I don't know how much depth they have, but they're all pretty like, let's go beat the bad guys. We're gonna have fun.
Yeah.
They all have their own personalities aside from that, but there's definitely a lot of common ground between shonen main characters and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny that they're asking for character when a lot of the characters are real similar. I like that he goes and says, like, chakra is just my excuse for magic. Don't think too deeply into this. You know? Meanwhile, same as Dragon Ball, I've heard people talk about, like, different power levels of chi and ability and stuff like that. He's trying to tell you not to focus on this. It's just his word for magic. It could be the Force for all we care.
He says that.
Yeah. So, I think most manga people would really wish that people would focus less on power levels and more on the development of the story going on in the background. He dodges the hand gestures question altogether. Did you pick that up at all?
More or less.
I thought that was hilarious. Like, they ask him something like, why hand gestures? And he goes and describes, like, what hand gestures are instead of answering why he's doing them. Pretty silly. I don't think he has an answer for that other than he thought it was cool. Yeah. Probably just thought it was cool because it's a visual medium. what else would be cool other than doing hand gestures? Having crazy
right. He
powers
mentions
come out
that
and
like,
stuff.
in most magic stories, which chakra is just a substitute for magic,
Yeah.
spells are verbal.
Yeah.
It's much more visually appealing if they're gestural.
Which isn't what he says, but that's what you can get.
Yeah.
You know, from what he's trying to tell you. The Sansukumi, the mythical animals, and the rock, paper, scissors thing I thought was interesting. He mentions that, like, this snail is supposed to beat this toad's supposed to beat this snail's supposed to beat the snake, or whatever. So, interesting dynamic between the characters that he's setting up even before he's getting too deep into the story and stuff.
Yeah.
I like the cultural stuff that he's pulling together. I like that we got introduced to the word Sansukumi, representing mythical creatures and stuff. Specific mythical creatures. I have a note here that says Kyubi no Yoko, and then it says one of the most powerful. I don't know what that's in reference to. Does that ring a bell to you, Chris?
I think that's just Nine-Tails Fox.
Yes. Yeah, right. It is the name for the nine-tailed fox, the Kyubi no Yoko. I guess that's the big one.
Yeah.
No surprise, we've heard of nine-tailed foxes in other mangas, other cultural Japanese stuff.
I imagine the name Kurama is synonymous with foxes too, just knowing Yu Yu Hakusho, knowing the fox influence in the character Kurama.
Yeah.
Imagine it's a very consistent cultural thing.
My note says that the second question on the last page makes the interviewer seem dumb. So let's read this real quick.
Okay.
Shonen Jump asks, what is the relationship of Naruto and the demon fox? Was the demon fox killed and reincarnated inside Naruto's body, or was it sealed inside the baby Naruto without dying? Are these two souls within Naruto's body in the same mystical sense, or is it more like two personalities in the psychological sense? If Homie had read the first... How far are we into Naruto right now? Like 10 chapters. If Homie had read the first 10 chapters of Naruto, Homie would not be asking this question. We already have the answer to this question. The first 10 chapters. We know exactly what's going on here. So it like offends me that this dude has done research on Misashi, but hasn't done any research on the actual manga that we're talking about here. It looks like he's pulling some of these questions from maybe fans that don't know how to read manga properly and stuff.
It's possible.
I'd imagine. I don't think Shonen Jump would have cleared this question unless it was something fans were asking on a constant basis.
Yeah.
It's a little too ignorant. You know, but then he asked like a good question based on the manga. Is there ever going to be a manga adaptation of Ichila Make Out Paradise? And he says one word, never. One of the smartest things I think he says in this, and it's very un-mangaka of him to say, but it's still very smart. He says, those who rail against the entertainment industry are closed-minded.
Yeah.
He takes a lot of influence from from movies and stuff, specifically Hollywood movies. And he also mentions like baseball, his appreciation for baseball in here too. So he's obviously in love with American culture on some level, and that American culture is influencing his manga. Even though I'd say almost none of it makes it into his manga culturally. Yeah, it's the influence of the art that's making it into here, and the spirit and the atmosphere.
I think it's on this page too. He talks about like the weird hybrid world of Naruto, where it's kind of set in the present with ninja weapons. And he mentions that's like the only change in this world.
It's got
instead of guns, they have.
It doesn't even seem like it's set in the
weapons.
present as much as he doesn't feel like it needs to. He doesn't feel like he needs to eliminate a lot of the things that are modern.
Yeah,
he thinks that like TV and radio blend perfectly into his world, no problem.
Yeah, and why not?
And I'd say radio, no problem, but I don't know about TV. I don't know.
It's like chakra magic.
Because it seems, yeah, I'm not going to question it, but it seems like there's a map in this issue specifically, and the map shows you, the ninja territories and stuff, and the way that they put it out there makes it seem like feudal Japan immediately, and there were obviously no televisions in feudal Japan, so it's not feudal Japan, but it's taking a lot of that inspiration. So it's hard for me to see a place like this have technology like that, because you have to get to somewhere in order to have that technology. And it seems like their warring factions to the point of maybe barbaricness, you know?
Yeah.
Mixing in magic into it. So how is there a TV publication happening amongst all of this, right?
Yeah.
There's like a Ninja News, I guess.
I'm gonna be honest, I've never even noticed that there are TVs in Naruto. I would just assume there wasn't, because it's just so unimportant.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something...
No, it doesn't. Yeah, technology is one of the least playing factors in this manga, to my knowledge.
Even though there was a radio.
But they totally are in the backgrounds of these panels and stuff, at least. I don't really have any good notes after that. The only one that I was going to say that I found interesting personally is that his letters are 90% women.
Yeah.
His fan letters.
Yeah, he mentioned boys just don't write letters very much.
Which, that tracks.
Yeah.
Japan's pretty dynamic in regards to their genders and sexes and stuff.
Yeah.
So, got to play your role, or you're going to be called a femboy or something. I don't know. You got anything to leave off on here, Chris?
No, I think I mentioned everything.
Yeah, I like that they included some Misashi art in here.
Yeah.
Stuff looks really pretty, especially with the colors on it.
Mm-hmm.
And this looks like two different forms of coloring too, so it would have been interesting to see what he uses for color.
Yeah.
Moving right along here, though.
Animatrix head.
This Animatrix ad is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
This is the only thing I actually ever liked out of the Matrix.
Oh.
I didn't like those movies at all.
I haven't watched them.
You're not missing out. You're missing out on this though. You should watch this just for just look at this.
Yeah, it looks crazy.
It's anthology animation too. It's so if you like Twilight Zone, what you do,
Yeah.
it's right up your alley. Manga Explorer, woo! I usually like Manga Explorer. This one was one of the ones I did not like. This is about basically, for lack of better term, a drag queen transvestite manga.
Yeah.
This dude loses his face, and so they put a woman's face on him.
Yeah.
And he's got a very androgynous build.
Uh-huh.
So he starts to become a lady.
Yeah.
And tries to blend in with the ladies. I'm not going to touch this one any more than what I just said. You got a note on here? You gonna?
Japan has a weird fascination with boys dressed up as girls.
And girls dressed up as boys. They'll swap those genders day in, day out.
Not as a comedic thing though. They don't it's not an accepted thing over there.
No,
anything.
Yeah. If anything, this is the problem. Is that this is what's not meant to be taken seriously when.
No, it's a comedy thing. It's how funny is it that this guy is a girl.
And
that's the only change.
I don't think any of these would fly over here in America.
No, but this is a fairly typical setup from what I've seen.
But for a while, Ram Na Half was popular over here. So
is that what Ram Na Half is about?
It's about a guy who, if you pour water on him, turns into a girl.
I'm less inclined to read Ram Na 1/2.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun, but it is not. It's confusing. I don't understand. We're moving on. YuYu Hakusho.
Yeah.
The best manga in this book. I'm sure you agree at this point, right? This is amazing stuff, man.
I don't think I've ever disagreed.
No, but I know that you're a big One Piece fan, and
I will say until the cows come home, I don't think East Blue is all that. Until they enter the Grand Line, I don't even regard those stories as something I would reread.
Okay, because does not hold a candle.
No.
This is just, YuYu Hakusho is just starting out, and it's already the best. We haven't even gotten to the bulk of what this manga actually is. We're still not going to in this issue. It's still the best manga in this book. Really awesome stuff.
Yeah. We bring back the ghost girl from last chapter, so she's still around.
Yeah. I'm not gonna try. It's really hard for me to even do this section because we could talk about every panel here. The shading done, his facial recognition, his facial stuff.
Yeah.
The lack of face over here, but he doesn't need it. Those eyebrows sell his feelings. What is this? This super there's the spiral thing, but in Japan, they actually like this design a lot. It's been talked about a bunch. There's a name for the spiral design and stuff.
Is it Uzumaki?
Yeah, this Uzumaki thing.
Yeah.
And then there's this weird background and textures and stuff. Well, this would take forever if we keep doing this. So we're gonna keep this moving.
I do appreciate we get to see some typical high schoolers, so we get to see Tagashi's like fashion design sense.
Yeah.
I think he's really good at outfits. That's
He's
something I've heard Yu Hakusho praised for. Is like he draws good character design.
Yeah, and how about the designs in Hunter x Hunter, right? All the kids have really cool designs and power sets and stuff. It's another manga of his that I haven't gotten around to, but I've seen enough of it to go, well, these character designs are awesome. This is a cute little story about this girl. Her and her friend are gonna take a test, and her friend has picked up some weird book and put a curse on her by accident, basically. And so she's to be killed unless her best friend can get rid of the curse somehow.
Right.
There's just a bunch of like creepy art, even this,
yeah,
which is meant to be reassuring to her.
It's this off
terrifying
kilter panel.
It might even just be like this. Yeah, it's the fact that it's slanted and this this shadowing in the background over here is creepy as heck. All of the black eyes, all of the it's terrifying black eyes.
And I'll just mention whenever Takashi is doing horror stuff, because he mentions that's like one of his primary influences, and he's really good at it. I think.
Yeah, he's stunning. He can drop like a weird eyeball in the background.
Yeah,
and it kills it. This is YuYu Hakusho. He has some cool, pretty terrifying stuff. There's one in here too where like he's being the evilness is being sucked away or whatever, and it's being spread across 2 pages or whatever. But the lines they're all speed lines, but it's his face. We'll get to it. What I want to say though is sometimes stories are so good, so well done and rendered that it's like they were meant to be. Okay. They were just meant to exist. You know, like I think a great example of that is Thor. I think in history that Thor as a character would exist, and I feel like I can prove that by citing the various thunder gods that exist in a bunch of different cultures.
Right.
They're not all Thor, but they're all gods of thunder, right? So as a human in different cultures, I don't care if you lived in the West Coast, East Coast, 100 billion years ago or not, you are going to be influenced by the things around you. One of those things is like storms, is weather and stuff, right? So just like Godzilla is one of those things, I'd argue too. Like giant monsters, the freak of nature that came out of the craziness, radioactiveness that came out of World War II.
Yeah.
I feel like just because of the way that history went, that this is one of those stories that just needed to be told, and is so well done and so well told that it feels like the story was there the whole time. Yeah. That this dude, this Tagashi guy, had a window to this existence and was the only person that could capably tell the story. And when he did, it was, like I said, it was like it was meant to be. He did it in 4 years. Again, I'm impressed that breaks down to 4 seasons. Yeah. It's it's really short. There's no reason to continue it when you get to the end of the story. Everything has a perfect ending almost. And let's keep this moving. Page 16, panel with clouds and word bubbles. That's 2 pages ago or something.
Yeah, I think that's the opener.
Page 16, panels with clouds. This one. I thought this panel was interesting and brave because there's nothing here. It's a wasted panel. Just he needed to get some words in, so he just shoved a panel over here to get some words in. Then he threw some like textures to make it look like the sky. Yeah. And how simple is this panel, and it still looks like the sky? This dude's a master of his craft. My next note is Yusuke's first instinct over here. So we find out that she's also being followed by some creepy dude that just...
The guy we probably just saw, and we totally deflate him in like his first 2 panels.
Yeah. He gets solved pretty quickly because we find out that he is creeping her out, but he's not the problem here. The problem is this curse that her friend has put on her. This is just like coincidental that this dude is following her.
Yusuke is also just following him and immediately knocks his block.
Yeah, it was hilarious to me that this is he's gone through so many of these problems and still his first instinct is to punch the ghost.
And they never will stop being his first instinct.
And I wanted to tackle a theme here that I don't think we've even gotten to, and that's that I think this book shows the importance of the value of life. And how not to play with that too much, and I think that's pretty obvious in this character.
Right.
His whole thing here is he's trying to redeem himself, and he committed suicide and he regrets it in death. And so all of these people, she's got a life ahead of her, and her friend's got a life ahead of her, and they're trying to get this test and beat the other person out so they can go to a great college and all that stuff. But by the end of this, what they really come down to is that they should just keep being friends and go to school together and stuff. And so sometimes the value of life is what you make it. It's not.
And the other character, I believe it's this one, is kind of not throwing away her own life, but throwing away her friend's life because of this test. She definitely, there wasn't intentional malice when she did that, but there was unintentional malice when she cursed her. She went out of her way to do it, just not thinking it would actually happen.
Yeah, she didn't take it seriously at all.
Yeah. But just out of sheer desperation, because as we learn later, they've been rivals their whole life without even really meaning to. It's really her parents forcing this on her.
Yeah. So the story goes along, and this girl almost gets killed and stuff, and again, some really great art throughout this whole thing. Really well-rendered poses and stuff. Cool visual effects and things.
Some letters over here.
Some letter page that I ignored completely because I pulled nothing from this.
Okay.
There is some letter pages later that we're going to talk about a little bit, but so Yusuke tries to get involved and fails. What we find out is that this evil that is chasing her is unsatiable and must kill her. And so Yusuke jumps into this evil cloud and tries to fight it.
And just disappears.
Has no real solid solution.
The main characters are basically tangential in this story.
Yeah, and while we're on this page, I want to say that the story really pours on the creepiness. We're getting ever deeper into mystery, and which is where this is going. We keep getting deeper into this cultural, scary stuff, and I love it because I know where this is going, and I really like the mythical stuff that this is based in, with Koenma and Botan and the Demon World, and it's cool. It's cool. It adds a whole nother level to where we're at right now, which is trying to get Yusuke to redeem himself and help people and stuff. But that there's why would we be dealing with all of this stuff unless it was going to go somewhere in addition to that? Yusuke is going to become more than he even realizes he is. But this story in particular does have a pretty happy ending. The two girls get together, and I guess with their this is a face.
Yeah,
but it's not. It's so
elongated.
It's so It's speed blind. It's a face done only in speed lines. I don't know if I've seen this before. With the power of friendship, basically, they nail this thing. They save themselves from the train wreck that she was being pulled into by that giant evil. Yeah. And Yusuke helped absolutely zero. He's in space somehow.
He's in a different dimension.
This was a fun panel over here. I'm sure he just did this because he wanted to, Togashi. Let me point out some simpleness, too. There's just Botan in the sky with some visual effects. But, you don't need much here. She is the onlooker. She's the audience. This works.
I don't remember why they did this, because this is a strange one. Because there's a panel break here, I think.
Yeah, I guess that is a panel break. It could be...
reflection into reality?
Yeah, but not just that, but this is supposed to show that maybe they're not safe, and that they got broken up and stuff by this train. Okay. So it's causing some level of suspense if you were to read each of these panels, technically. And then you get to here, and she looks like she could be dead. There's an ellipse. But then you see her friend, and her friend says something.
Right.
Moving right along.
Always again, with humorous teacher designs.
Yeah, because these are about as villainy as we get with this kind of stuff. Again, the story ends very nice. They decide to go to the same school and stuff. And, Yusuke was mostly just an audience in this story. Didn't really do a whole lot. But that's okay. It was still a good story. They could even... So, how crazy is it that Takashi can do a whole story not about our main character at all? Basically, maybe to teach the main character a small lesson to value life a little bit more, I guess.
He's really just telling a story about, it's almost a... not seinen. Shoujo manga, a little girl's manga.
Yeah. And still, this is still the best. This is the best manga in this book. Yeah. So, can't stress that this is a great cover.
Yeah.
Love the comparison between like realism manga and like cartoony chibi manga.
Yeah. Toriyama's always cited as the guy who invented this style.
Okay.
Early Dr. Slump stuff. At least by like Ed Piskor and stuff. So there might be some
inconsistency there.
Yeah.
Moving right along here.
Another pretty simple sort of slice of life chapter.
This one I barely got anything out of.
Yusuke's like ghost girlfriend has developed a crush on him and is jealous of Keiko more or less.
But immediately
wants to like test her.
Yeah, immediately turns that into a brotherly sisterlyhood, like really quickly. Realizes that she has no chance or something, and so she's just trying to make sure that the girl that Yusuke is interested in stands up to what she thinks he's owed.
Do you remember if she's in the episode of this that's in the show? Because we're back to territory they cover.
She has to be, and the only reason that I say that is because she gets a card in the card game.
Okay.
They don't pull anything in the card game that isn't in the actual show.
It has art from the show on it.
It's all colored. Yeah. So she's in there. She might not show up till later. She might even show up like because she has in the card game she has like psychic abilities.
Yeah,
so
she has sort of psychic abilities already.
She does, yeah. So I don't remember. It's been a while.
I don't remember her at all, though.
You want to hear? I'm going to point out one panel that I will probably never ever have an opportunity to point out that Takashi failed in.
Okay.
What the hell is that? What is that?
Is it the jaw? Yeah.
What is that? Here's the lot. Here's her opponent on the opposite side of the fence. Here's her head through the fence.
Oh.
Still trying to hit the ball that's going over to the other side.
Oh, yeah. That's strange.
What the heck, yo?
Oh.
That is so un-Tagashi. I can't believe
whatever, deadlines are coming.
I can't, yeah. You know that's exactly what went on
I mean, there's like a...
Like, look
these
at this
pages
chapter.
aren't cluttered, but there's a lot of panels on this page.
Look how well rendered Keiko is every single time she shows up in this chapter, you know?
That might be an assistant. I don't think he has assistants.
I know, I think they all have assistants, but, you know, they're not drawing characters, is what we know about assistants.
I know he loses them, because at some point Tagashi becomes like an ultra-perfectionist, part of the reason Yu Hakusho ends, and he stops having an assistant.
I did not know that.
So, he must have one at this point.
But in any case... That is very not him. So, anyway.
Strange.
Again, really simple chapter. They're really just doing this whole thing to show that Keiko is good for Yusuke, which we don't even really need to know. We know that already just based on all the stuff that has gone on. But, this apartment that he's sleeping in, that he is going to come back to his body in eventually.
It's a mess. It's just filled with newspaper. It's like Atsuko has hoarded stuff in Yusuke's room since he's died.
And not just is it a mess, but an ongoing thing from the last chapter at the end and in the beginning of this chapter and through this chapter. There's an arsonist running around, this guy.
Yeah.
He goes over to Yusuke's apartment, throws a firebomb in it. The apartment sets on fire with Yusuke in it. Yusuke tries to get out. It's not happening. Keiko's got to come back and save his butt. And
runs into the fire.
She runs into the fire, and then the chapter ends.
Yeah.
This was such a disservice to us. Usually, they don't end on such big cliffhangers and stuff, but like this cliffhanger was mighty, I'd say.
Yeah.
But
the Naruto one was pretty strong too. It ends with Kakashi being like, "You'll never be a ninja."
Yeah.
They do that sometimes.
Well, from the last issue,
especially with your opener. I think it's a good way to keep people reading because it keeps them interested in this manga specifically, but the emotion of being intrigued continues on.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to just keep reading in general, so...
I find that every time I read one of these manga, I'm like, can't I just get the volume?
Well, we could, but...
it would be a disservice to this.
Our show would be lacking for it, I'd say. Alright, so now we're at Naruto, which Yu Yu Hakusho was a 10 out of 10, so hopefully Naruto does the same, and my notes are like half or less of what I have for Yu Yu Hakusho. Not because this fails or anything, but just because...
It's very simple.
Maybe that was the case. So basically what's going on here is Kakashi is playing his students. And eventually his students figure it out that Kakashi's trying to teach them to be a team.
Yeah.
And he literally has to tell them that. And I think like Sasuke... I keep forgetting which one's named Sasuke and which one's named Sakura, because I feel like they're both like male-sounding names. Sasuke, I think, I wouldn't say figures it out, but like acts like he figures it out over here.
Yeah.
he's trying to. There in the manga here, I think Kishimoto is trying to show us that it's Naruto's stomach is bothering the other two students. But to me, knowing this character and how determined he is to kill someone soon, I think it's all an act. I think everything he does is an act. I think he's just trying to get through these trials, get through his lessons, build his resume so that he can be successful in his endeavors.
And he says something like, if we're going to take the bells from Kakashi or complete the training thing, they're going to need Naruto, showing that at least now that he's been forced to take worth of his compatriots, he does recognize that Naruto would be useful to him.
Yeah, you're no good to me if you're just going to be a liability.
Yeah.
So they get together, they learn their lesson, Kakashi shows up, scares the heck out of them.
Well, even more than that, we learn Kakashi's never passed anyone, so no one has figured this out before.
Really bothered me, actually.
Yeah.
Because who are Kakashi's many failed pupils? What happens to these people?
They go back to the school.
They go back.
Take another year, get a different mentor, probably. That's what usually
probably.
happens. Yes.
Maybe. Potentially. There's nothing in here that tells us what happens if you don't pass the ninja tests.
And the other thing, I forgot to mention it, why Kakashi never passes anyone is he mentions that, he shows Naruto this, grave of heroes, and he's like, this is where all my friends are.
Right.
Everyone he's loved is dead. So he has a very similar complex to Sasuke, but he, filters it the way Naruto does.
Yeah.
Kind of acts as a bridge between the two characters.
Yeah.
More letters.
Yeah. How about this background? It's really cool.
Yeah.
Was that in the last issue that he was talking about being a hero, or was that in
this? It's very early in this chapter.
Oh, it's just super early. Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
There's another letters page that I didn't really take anything from.
Yeah, some fine fan art.
Yeah, it was fun. These are my kids, mostly, so...
One of the...
expected.
I saw some at the back, and one of the guys is 21.
That's, my art isn't that great either, so...
Yeah, fair enough.
They're on their first mission. Well, not really. Yeah, I guess sort of. They gotta find this cat for this lady.
Yeah.
And they do. And then they get another mission immediately after that, and mostly because Naruto's complaining and that he's not getting any good missions and stuff like that. So Iruka doesn't seem to be humoring him at all, but the Hokage, who has stated that he's expecting a lot from Naruto, humors him because I guess he's confident in his abilities.
Yeah.
Or he knows something that somebody else doesn't know. or a little bit of both. So they get this gig. The gig's to protect this guy.
Yeah.
And they gotta bring him to the village that he comes from. And this is our first character that we're introduced that is not a ninja. Too, so that's important to mention. And he's a bridge builder. He's an architect.
Yeah.
And he lives, I believe, in a village of other architects or something.
He's going to build a bridge for a village that doesn't have one.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to another ninja town, though. I think he's...
No.
There are other people in this universe that aren't just ninjas.
Yeah, they're like satellite towns, so the major villages are all ninja villages.
And we kind of go over that over here.
Yeah.
With all of who lives where and what represents what and all the names.
Talk about the 5 shadows of the Kage.
Konoha no Kuni, Akira no Kuni, Kuma no Kuni, Suna no Kuni, and Iwa no Kuni. The
village of the leaf, flame, mist, stone, sand.
Yeah, and they have different words for it because it's the manga version: cloud, stone, leaf, sand, fog.
Yeah.
But what's really cool about this portion is they're being followed by some dudes that look eerie, creepy, scary, and capable.
Yeah.
And they're not supposed to be dealing with this kind of level of problem.
No, it's a very simple escort mission. The guy seemingly lied to the Kage because they were told that they're not going to be facing any ninja. This was supposed to be a routine mission.
Yeah.
He actually is being followed.
Yeah. What I did like about this chapter, now we're on these pages, this craziness gave me the ability to justify the nonsense that Kakashi was pulling off back when he was training these guys a couple chapters ago.
Yeah.
Because I was complaining about, like, oh, he's got Speed Force powers, and, like, how does he get out of the sand, and, like, none of it makes any sense. And then you see this dude literally come out of a puddle. And that's when you have to start suspending all belief now.
Yeah.
Every single bit of belief you might have, suspend it. We're breaking barriers here. How about this Hellboy hand?
That is a Hellboy hand.
Dude, and it looks even more like Hellboy hand in a minute, too. My note was the Naruto world magic can be confusing. My advice to everybody is just to keep going.
Yeah.
Just swallow it right here. Look at that. That's a straight rip. I don't care what anybody says. That is the right hand of the devil. And we know that, like, they've heard of Hellboy over in Japan and stuff. It's like 2 different manga people have cited.
Is Kishimoto the one cited hyping Nola?
We have. You're right. It's possible because we did have another Kishimoto interview, so it might have been him. But I know Kazuki Takahashi did, and I think Tagashi did too when he was talking about like his horror influences.
I think he cited Geiger.
He cited Geiger as well.
Okay.
He cited Geiger as well. Yeah. Here's some scary, cool looking panels. This is a clone.
Yeah.
We all know it. We've read now enough Naruto to know that this is a clone. And then this is another crazy cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Like, we don't even really get, like, a good shot of the villains yet. And like, that in and of itself is... Because there's 2 of them. But, you know, how does this even work? These dudes look really cool. I'm really excited to see it. And also, here's a different ninja symbol, too. So we know that these guys are from another village or whatever.
We're going to be dealing with the Mist Ninjas.
That is so cool. So this again, Naruto was my second favorite chapter. I don't know how I ever didn't like reading this as a kid.
And, this is the start of my favorite arc. I'll mention that.
Sweet.
I love the first arc of Naruto.
Sweet. I'm really excited for it too. I remember watching it and enjoying it as I was watching it because I thought the visuals in the beginning of Naruto were really cool once it got to this part. Once they got past the like silly stuff. Moving on to Shaman King, which I have a few notes for.
Yeah.
This was fun, very simple. So I'm going to kind of speed through this, but I do want to say the art is good in Shaman King. It's just it's relatively basic manga stuff. I think really
very heavy black and white.
Yeah, I think what really drives Shaman King is the story going forward and the characters that we're dealing with more than the actual art is. But there are a lot of cool moments in the art.
I like this way to introduce the characters. It's just straight up homage to when he met Yo.
Yeah,
it's like the same paneling.
Yeah. This is like he's very capable, clearly. But the focus is not always the art as much as it is the lore of Shaman King.
Yeah.
And so, Manta runs into a new shaman. And this new shaman's name is Ren, we find out through this chapter. And he clearly has different ways of viewing ghosts than Yo. And that's the big point here that we're going to make.
Right.
This is probably my favorite panel in this whole thing. Like you were talking about, I think last time we were reading Shaman King, that one of these panels made you laugh out loud.
Yeah.
When I read this one, I was like, geez, that is the best drawn cartoon anime character I think I've ever seen in my life. His cartooning capabilities are stunning. You know, he almost does nothing but cartooning in a way, because even his figures look like wrong, but they work. They're
noodly.
They're obnoxious and large and noodly and stuff. Yeah. This is a shonen in full swing.
It is now.
Right? Like it is officially going full swing. We got powers, we got samurais, we got shamans, we got badass main character with headphones. We got everything you can need for a good shonen. I like this at a point. He's just gonna go, let's go integrate, and like he integrates the shadow or whatever.
Yeah.
Reminded me of it's morphin' time, you know, or you know, whenever in any manga they do like they name stupid stuff that really doesn't need a name. Yeah. The action in this is really good. It's panel for panel too, which I love when they do action like that, where you can literally follow all of the moves of the people back and forth. Dragon Ball Z does that later in this issue too, which is sweet.
I'm gonna mention this now because I can re-mention it when Toriyama does it.
Oh yeah.
His machinery is just—it's not bad, but it's cartoon machinery.
Yeah.
It's Kirby or Byrne-esque, where they're drawing like abstract, very blocky. non-functional looking.
This is probably his best machine in the
Yeah,
whole thing.
I'm not really talking about the.
Here's the problem, though,
cab.
right? Like, look at the size of this dude, you know? And then he splits this thing in half.
Yeah.
And the halves look bigger than the car did when it started.
Yeah. Of course they're hard. I'll give them a break.
But again, I'm not, like, and then here's a really cool panel to make up for it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not. This guy's art is great. It's fine the way it is. It doesn't need anything. He's trying to move this particular story, too, because this doesn't need to be spent a whole lot on. We're trying to just show you this dude is not a nice guy.
No.
He's going to go kill this driver, man.
Well, because we've been told the whole time, is like, all shamans are good people.
Yeah.
They all have the same beliefs as me. Then
Yeah.
we meet Ren, and he's the complete opposite. He wants to integrate as many spirits as possible so he can take over the world. He has, like, this whole running motif of how the stars are, they're not visible anymore because of light pollution and stuff.
Yeah.
So he's trying to cleanse the world.
Yeah, he also seems a little crazy, and I think he tries to say that he sees stars that other people don't see, which I don't know how legitimate that is or not.
He tells Monza a bunch of times that the stars he sees aren't real. They're fake stars.
Oh, right, yeah. I don't know what that's supposed to imply. How about the difference between Yo here and Yo here?
Yeah.
This is not Deadline Yo. This is Deadline Yo. Look at his feet. Nub. He got nub feet now.
Yeah.
All right, we're moving on. Let's cut him a break. And, like, obviously it was Deadline Yo because this is the last page, right? And,
Yeah.
and then we got a new chapter right there. This was cool. This was really important, even. They go and describe this weapon that I made a note of somewhere. Somewhere? No, I didn't bother to make a note of. It's called the Quan Do something. Quan Do something. Anyway, it's based on this dude, Quan Do. Quan Dao, maybe, was a dynasty warrior, basically, and that's a lot of what the Dynasty Warrior video games are based on, is this period of Japan. And he had this cool thing.
I think he's Chinese, actually, because they mention later on that it's a Chinese soldier versus a Japanese samurai. It's like a...
It's right, but he's not... No. Bastion isn't Quan Do.
Okay.
Bastion is Chinese. This is I believe, Japanese cultural lore. Again, because but like I don't. Dynasty Warriors could be China. I guess that game. I could be wrong. They don't make a point to say if this is Japanese or Chinese here. But they do make a point to mention that it's important to the dynasties and whenever that had happened.
No.
And they go through and say like what its capabilities are. The like jabbing point. This is meant to like this and this can remove a weapon. It's like a little tangling bit over here to distract your opponent with and stuff. And it's named after this famous guy who used to use it a lot.
Yeah.
Famous cultural warrior.
And warlord to some extent, which is sort of like the basis for this character.
Right.
He's not an honorable warrior, he's like a warlord.
Yeah, that's definitely where we're going. Ruler of all shamans, in fact.
Yeah.
I like that somewhere here he calls Yo headphone boy.
Yeah.
Which is an accurate description because Yo never drops him unless he gets smacked.
It was this panel that really threw me off because I kept seeing Mansa without background, so I just assumed he had left with Yo. Like every time there's a reaction shot, because Amidamaru follows him. We learn in a second.
Yeah.
I don't know if I meant to make that note later, but he drops the backgrounds a lot, and sometimes I think he should just put him in to reestablish.
Just wants him to
I
keep-
made the note reestablish.
Here is an example of
reestablish.
that, but he's just trying to keep him moving is the way.
Yeah.
No backgrounds on any of these 2 pages. But again, what's the purpose, right? Movement, action, movement, action.
Well, I for me, the only reason I'm mentioning is that I at some point lost where Mansa's supposed to be and was thrown off where he's not where I thought he was.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're wrong for collecting that. But there's a reason, right?
Yeah.
Moving right along. It's got to be like my catchphrase for this stuff. I say it in both the Weekly Wednesday Order and in our Shonen Jumps.
Yeah.
Moving right along. We got action. We got action on action and on action. And it's panel for panel, and you can follow the whole thing, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah. Some good movement. All the good S curves in here.
Yeah, and this is totally when it's acceptable to drop the background, considering
Right.
what you were just talking about. You don't, and we know where we are now, so you just focus on the movement and the action. It's no problem.
Yeah.
This is another funny panel with Manta in it. His character's great for that. And maybe nothing
Yeah, now
else.
that we're no longer focusing on him, I think I do like him.
Yeah, I like Manta. I got no complaints on him.
And the kind of running dialogue is that this guy Ren doesn't think Yo is a good shaman. He thinks Amidamaru was really strong, but he thinks
Yo's
he's
pretty
not
much clown
using-
shoes,
yeah.
basically, is what he tells him.
And then he mentions, like, even though Amidamaru is stronger than my guy, I can integrate 100%.
And here we go with the powers and the levels and the shonen, and dear God, does that drive me up a wall, but he's doing it, so Yo's only at 10% power, and he's got 100% integration. Vorpal dance song, hua zan woo!
I think this is a cool panel. We finally get to see Yo's hair blown back.
He's in his headphones.
Oh, yeah.
Told you, it only happens when he gets knocked back.
And then he...
Straight up, like, you can't... What I found, I stared at these two pages for way too long. Because I was like, wait, is Yo stabbed or is Yo not stabbed? And...
I think we're not supposed to know.
Well, you see the blood.
Yeah, he, like, licks it, right?
And he doesn't have blood prior.
Yeah.
So, he's got to be stabbed. Looks like there's blood coming out of him, right?
Yeah.
Drops his sword. So he's stabbed, but did we see the stab? No. I guess we don't need it. I didn't think we needed it. But I wanted to, like, I stared at it just to clarify.
I think we'll see it next issue, and it'll be in the shoulder or something. So we know he's not, like, dead.
Yeah.
But we're supposed to think he might die.
Yeah. This is really well done, is kind of what I'm trying to say.
And, like, look how this is such a panel break out of everything else. Different background. Like, we have a panel like this, but it's a really wide shot.
And you know what? Again, this also looks like this was deadline page, right? Non-deadline page.
Yeah.
Because look at how simple the actual panels are. He just shadowed this guy out. But how effective. Yeah, just giant circles for eyes. But it still really works.
Yeah. I think, do you know what the genre of samurai film is called? I can't think of it right now. Maybe like Rambara. It's something like that.
I don't know. Don't they talk about that later in this jump, though?
Probably.
I swear that there's a portion in this jump that starts talking about how one of these, it might even be in the Misashi interview, how he talks about there's like a specific kind of samurai movie that's made by old filmmakers.
Yeah, that was during his interview.
And he really likes it, but he's waiting for a new filmmaker to come out and make one of these really cool samurai movies because he wants like a fresh one.
Either way, I think this is just an allusion to that sort of thing.
Sure. Moving on to Sand Land, unless you had any ending notes there. We got more Sand Land in this issue than we have usually.
We got two chapters. I was so delighted. I got to the end of the last one. I was like, all right, there's our Sandland. I'll wait till next month. Turn the page. Ah!
Yeah, more Sandland. Yeah. I had a similar response too. This is another pretty simple manga. Kira Toriyama keeps it moving. There's no wasted panels here. And the amount of detail he's putting into the panels too really shows that he cares about this manga as a whole.
Yeah.
And it keeps things consistent too. Like the Santa Claus outfit keeps popping up.
Toriyama's really got a type for old perverts, I guess. Even though we find out that's not the case in this one,
he's the least pervy. I'd say that the thief is really the old pervy in this particular situation and stuff.
Put up a pinup girl, it's your good luck charm.
But like my first note is, and it goes with what I was just saying, is the panel progression kind of feels like a film. This page was the one that really made me feel like it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 panels, all different angles. 7 panels, all different angles. If we go back in this book, we can go to pages where that is not the case, where like you see, like, okay, here's a bunch of faces, here's a face, here's a pose, here's a pose. These are different angles, but not as dynamically
Well, all
different.
of these are at 3/4 for every character. They're all facing the same way, except for this panel.
Yeah, that too. There's not a lot of side shots here. It's all front. Here we get the back of characters. We get
and
behind
multiple
the
characters
tank.
in a panel in a space.
I mean, he's really going crazy.
And he can, because this isn't a month or a weekly manga, really. I think he's done with this by the time this starts getting published.
Yeah, and he's at this point in his career where he's proven himself. So I'm sure his editor is even lax on him on top of that.
Oh yeah.
And he's pumping this out for the desire of pumping it out, not as much the desire to please Shonen Jump. So it's incredible how much he gets to put into a story that he loves so much. There's obvious why Dragon Ball was such a big success is he must have really enjoyed doing that when he first started out. And it's clear because he even does a crossover with Dr. Slump in it, which is definitely his like big brainchild he's really proud of and stuff. So this is really good. If that were not clear, here's a big old splash page.
And this is why I was mentioning the technology earlier. Everything seems to have a purpose here. We even get a diagram breaking down later the purpose of everything on this tank.
Yeah. I don't know if that diagram...
And it has much more organic parts.
I don't know if the diagram was done by Toriyama or not.
No, it's just Shonen Jump being like, here's all the parts of a tank that are on this tank.
But they're right. They can literally label every portion of the tank because Toriyama's done the research to make this look legitimate.
Yeah, and
possible.
Very rounded, organic machinery as opposed to like the very blocky, Kirby-esque technology we saw.
But it doesn't look like a cartoon. It looks like he might have actually ripped this from real life.
That's what I'm saying. It's very organic.
Yeah. Here's like a way more like simple page that I imagine in manga, like some bunch of faces and stuff.
Just looks like Dragon.
But he can do this and do this, and then he can get it a little bit more simple.
So he can do this.
So that he can do this. This man is amazing, absolutely amazing.
Good motion on a very complicated piece of technology.
How do you do an over-rendered, under-rendered design?
I don't know.
Because this is almost a better drawing of that character than right here.
But it looks like a sketch.
But it's supposed to look like a sketch, yeah. I found this so
I love this character who does like a telescoping thing by just cranking out his neck.
Yeah, and
this shit's fun.
And I think they're called like the Swim family or the Swim brothers or something. They're all just in swim uniforms. That's the gimmick. They're not swimming at all.
Look at this guy.
They're just in like shorts and stuff. Yeah, it's a great designs and stuff.
Toriyama, this is something we haven't seen in a couple chapters, but he's having a lot of fun with these post-apocalyptic gangs. Remember the like clown gang from a couple chapters ago? They all have fun designs.
One of my favorite parts about these guys too is that they just pull crap out of nowhere. Yeah, 3 times.
They're all wearing Speedos.
They have like there's no backpacks or anything, right? But somehow he just pulls this thing. Presumably out of his Speedo, and starts like sketching and stuff.
It'd be really funny if it was like sopping wet in that panel.
Yeah, it'd be gross. And then this dude in seconds travels to the city and back, and then in seconds later, they have an update on the news. Yeah. This TV also comes out of nowhere. Nowhere over here is there a television in the setting up panels. Nowhere. And then all of a sudden there's a TV.
And it's a comedic manga for the most part, so it works.
Yeah,
it's funny that it just pops out of nowhere.
Yeah. It's you keep moving, and a Toriyama's got you keeping moving. If I were not trying to chop this up for a review, I probably wouldn't have even thought too much into this, right?
Yeah.
Here's 2 really good pages too, a bunch of different dynamics and stuff.
It's a really impressive face because it looks like a more realistic person, but it has the same Dragon Ball eyes, face shape, mouth shape.
Yeah.
Just showing how a little change in proportion changes like our view of realism.
I believe this is supposed to be our main character also.
Yeah.
As a child.
As a young general.
Basically and we find out that the woman that was on this poster over here is his dead wife.
Yeah.
Died in the war. And here's our third surprise. We get a dude who is bigger than all 3 of his other family members put together and more. And somehow is hiding in the background.
Yeah.
Sleeping. There's also a moment here where this general kind of breaks. And he asks his leaders, is this news true? And the leaders tell him, no, it's all lies. Don't worry about it, because I guess he also lost somebody in the war similar to our main character.
Mm. Yeah, propaganda is a very it's a
powerful tool. Yeah, that too.
In this book.
Here we got this breakdown. Drawing probably by Toriyama. Breakdown probably not.
Yeah.
But we got the main gun, machine gun, rangefinder, turret, antenna, periscope, hull, track, shovel / sledge. Those are all things you'd probably I don't know about the shovel, but those are all things that you normally find on a machine like this or a submarine or a tank or something like that.
Yeah.
Pretty believable stuff. Moving right along. We're going to battle. it's official. We finally got the attention to the bad guys. They're bringing the tanks along. Our main character knows what he's got to do. He's got a mission. This is probably my favorite panel in these 2 chapters. This panel actually made me think, like, what if Toriyama did a horror story?
It'd be interesting.
I think it'd be interesting, too. I don't think he's amazing at this kind of stuff, but I think he could do a humor horror kind of manga. I think
he has done, like, a ghost
He's done
shot.
There's a bunch of stuff out there, so I could be just ignorant right now.
I feel like it was in Manga Theater, if you ever get that book. They recently released a collection of one-shots called Manga Theater.
Oh.
There's a bunch of, like, proto-Dragon Ball and stuff in there. It's pretty cool.
I'm gonna look into it.
And this is our character, Sheriff Rao, just announcing his intentions to the world, gets in touch with the news agency.
Yeah, and the news broadcasts him live.
Yeah, well, they're probably excited to hear from a war legend. They're like, all right.
Yeah, there's definitely...
What do you gotta say?
Across all of Sandland, there's definitely a mix of supporters of this guy and people that are sad at what had happened in the past. Mm-hmm. So to kind of play aside is definitely putting the people up against the government stuff. Yep. Not a bad idea.
Just ridiculous designs for all the aristocrats.
Yeah. Which is consistent across remember Commander Red is like he's super short, but he looks
magenta too whenever he shows up.
Yeah. Yeah, so this just keeps moving. There isn't a whole lot to take note of here.
Like the Dog King.
My question to Chris here is...
This is the panel, I mentioned this to Skylar. I didn't realize until this joke around here that Beelzebub has horns. It's, like, not part of his hair.
Yeah, it's barely relevant either, up until this very moment. Do you think teenagers would enjoy this manga? Because, to be honest with you, when I was reading this...
I think teenagers would, but I don't think this is for teenagers. Shonen Jump is very specifically, like, 12 and under. In general, it's for young boys. It's called a seinen manga.
I don't know how that works, because there's so many, like, sexual innuendo
and it's not anymore.
Violence.
Like, if you ever read Chainsaw Man, that's for adults. It's progressed. I think Naruto and Bleach, probably not as much One Piece at the start, really pushed boundaries.
YuYu Hakusho, too. Yusuke is inherently a terrible person... and very inappropriate all the time. So to like market that to an 11-year-old, that seems mind-blowing to me. And then look at the average audience for Yu Hakusho.
You have to think of what a seinen manga is, too, because that's for supposedly young adults, teenagers and up, and that's like Berserk and Vinland Saga, stuff which is very violent, very mature. So it almost seems like their age discrepancies are lower in Japan.
I think what may actually be going on is Japanese realizes who's actually going to be picking these things up, even if it's not necessarily supposed to be meant for them. Yeah. Kind of like South Park and Family Guy, right? Who's watching those shows? Adults? Sometimes. No, it's kids for the most part. It's kids who find like potty humor and stuff like that, entertaining and stuff.
Yeah.
Can't blame anybody, but if South Park was aware of that, which I'm sure they are, but they can't say that they're aware of that, they might be able to target their audience a little bit easier.
Right.
So this is Japan just going, we know what's going on here. We know 11-year-olds are going to want to pick this up, so let's target our audience properly and stuff.
Yeah.
But that being said, man, I don't think a kid would enjoy this story. I think this is kind of political. I think it's kind of war relevant. I love the cartooning, but I don't think the cartooning is going to bring any kids into reading it.
One Piece is the most popular manga in Japan. I would say all those themes, especially in like the 400 range, are all over One Piece. I get very, if you're a One Piece fan, like Alabasta vibes from this story. A lot of similar themes in that. So I feel like the average Japanese reader of that age is more interested in that than you'd think.
We're talking about American readers, right?
Okay, sure.
I don't think... And here's another point to this, too. Who's the main character here, realistically?
Wow.
61-year-old man.
Yeah.
That's very un-shonen.
Yeah.
Every single character elsewhere in this book is at least a teenager, if not a young adult. So, like, the 61-year-old dude might not be that relatable with his dead family and his dead wife and the problems he's had in life and the war that he's gone through and stuff. And Beelzebub is not much of a kid. No. He's pretty capable. So there's not a whole lot of like I can relate to these characters.
Yeah.
And when you're of that age and you're reading stuff, it's important to be able to relate to the characters you're reading about. That's what really brings you into the story a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I love this because I'm almost 30 years old, so I'm lying between like the normal shonen character age and this man's age.
Yeah.
I can see the relatableness in this character on several levels and stuff, and I'm really enjoying his whole story arc here, but I just don't know that any normal teenager would care to see this man try and take revenge on these evil dudes.
Think about, like, Star Wars, because, like, even though we have Beelzebub's our leading character, he's our teenager of sorts. That's who begins the story, leads us in, similar to Luke Skywalker, but from then on, those are all adult characters, and that's one of the most popular franchises amongst children, especially in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Han Solo's, I would argue, the most popular character, 44-year-old bastard.
So I see what you're saying, but you got to realize that thing is filled with puppets.
Yeah.
Filled with, like, Henson gets credits on every single one of those movies. So, yeah, you could play to adults, but all you got to do is shove a couple robots in a corner, kid's gonna go wild.
Okay.
So they kind of covered that, and that's what I think he's trying to do here with Beelzebub.
Yeah.
He could have picked an adult demon.
Or Thief.
Yeah.
Thief is like a humorous...
He's fun. He adds the humor. But this could have been an adult demon. The son could have been any age. Could have been... In fact, he is, I think, older than our main character, actually. But he's in kid form, right? Let's throw these kids a ball. Give them somebody to relate to real quick.
Right.
It's good. It's well done. I just don't know that this is going to, like... If you're an Akira Toriyama fan out of Dragon Ball, I don't know if this is going to please you much. If you're a manga fan, this is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But if you're strictly a Dragon Ball fan, I don't think that this is up
I'd
your
go
alley.
a Z fan.
Yeah.
I think this is very similar to original Dragon Ball.
Yeah. If you're a Z fan, I don't know if this is up your alley.
I don't think any of Toriyama's work is going to be up your alley if you're only a Z fan.
Yeah, maybe. We end this. They're gonna fight these other tanks. They've already mostly taken out like 2 of them. They only got 2 more to take down.
Yeah.
And then we get to the middle of this book. This is another manga explorer, way better than the other one.
Yeah, this one sounded cool.
It's about this guy. Clearly, it's about this mind assassin. This guy can go around, erase memories, cause you to go into sleep paralysis, cause you to just not be conscious. But he's trying to do it he is a mind assassin, but he's trying to not kill people is the whole thing here. And
not totally destroy their brains either,
yeah.
to the most part.
Yeah. And he finds they say that like he finds
there's like this
girl or something.
Yeah, who's like so traumatized that he has to totally erase her brain to like a toddler state, so she can redevelop as a different adult. Yeah, and the other background here that plays into this guy's character is he's like a quarter German, and his grandfather was a Nazi experiment, got these mind powers and stuff. So this sounds really cool. I will say this though, this art looks awful. Yeah.
That's terrible. This fine pose, it just looks weird. It looks like he's trying to over-Germanize this character.
Yeah.
And then this is okay. I don't know about this face. And even over here in the corner, I know you can't see it that well.
It's a very small thumb.
This is not one of Shonen Jump's feature mangas, clearly.
Yeah. And before we get too off from Sandland, just wanted to mention there's a game coming out for that too. So really, this is like a renaissance for that manga. They're promoting
2023.
Yeah.
Wow.
With the movie.
That's exciting.
And it looks pretty high budget, like a Dragon Ball game. If you've ever seen like Kakarot graphics,
there's a Sandland movie coming out.
Yeah.
Oh man, I hope it
also looks like superhero.
I hope it's just an adaptation of the manga.
It is.
I hope it's like a 2-hour, we get the whole story, one and done, or something like that.
And it's gonna look like superhero. Very similar graphic style, similar team working on it.
If that's what people want and it works, more power to them. If it's selling, man, keep doing it. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Clearly trying to appeal to teenagers.
Selling some manga.
I got a problem with Yu-Gi-Oh here.
Sure.
My problem is, and you'll see it now that I mention it, and you might have also saw it too. Why didn't they just give us color here? These are colored pages.
I know.
These are colored pages blacked out because they didn't feel like printing the color.
Yeah, this stuff is infuriating, especially when I'm reading.
Because it changes so dynamically over here. Yeah. Like here's Yugi's face, for example. And here's hold on, where is it?
Most baffling things I've ever read is the Dragon Ball Vizbigs, which will print the color chapters sometimes. Like the Goku and Vegeta fight, where they're doing the poses and stuff, the very beginning of it, is in color, but not in the collected edition. But like chapters like Piccolo and Trunks fighting 17 and 18 at the beginning of the arc will be colored. So very inconsistent what they even do with this color. And like in Dragon Ball, at the very least, when we got a colored chapter, they did show the color the whole way through, even though it was limited reds and blacks when we got it in this manga.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you why they limited us here, other than to save money.
Yeah, and we're going to see another example later on where I was really annoyed they didn't give us color.
I wanted to note, too, Shonen Jump fans, I've been skipping the kanji in the month for a reason. I found these confusing now that I've been reading them, because they, like, it says this, right? Here's the kanji, here's how you say it. But oftentimes they'll tell you that also read as bin or min.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about kanji to understand what this is trying to tell my American brain. And I don't think I'm going to learn it.
That kanji is confusing.
Well, right. I know that, Chris. But I don't understand this. So I love that it's here, and I think this is really cool. But I don't know that the editors are properly doing this.
Okay.
I don't know that these editors are conveying this information to us properly. So I'm gonna ignore this going forward, just because I'm not confident in explaining this based off of what they tell me.
I feel like it's only really relevant in Naruto because they explain terms that they use a lot in the anime, like Genjutsu, Hokage, stuff that they will translate, and Joe Duffy will translate, and that they won't.
You probably
sometimes
figure it out with context anyway.
Yeah.
What my confusion is really coming from is the different sounds being pronounced from one version of kanji.
Yeah.
That's what I'm confused about. But moving on with Yu-Gi-Oh! Here. This was a pretty good 2 chapters, would you say? Yeah. I know that, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is not your favorite by any means, but I still think that this is a very competent manga.
Yeah, it's good.
And for somebody that has never played the card game, it's still worth reading, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that...
I never skip it.
That's a pretty big... No, well, you're not allowed to.
Yeah. I would never skip it.
This is... I think these are pretty good compliments for this manga. And this manga, just like YuYu Hakusho, is gearing up to what it's actually going to be eventually.
Card games.
We get more Pharaoh Egyptian relevant stuff here.
Yeah.
This
cool double page splash.
This was probably the coolest double page splash in the whole thing, just because it's colored.
Yeah.
The colors are very
cool, Yami
really
Yugi.
vibrant. The shadows are all legitimate. Even the animals look cool. Smiling llama over here.
It's very flat, like flatter than I think I usually see from colors. Like think of the Naruto colors. You can see strokes in the tones that you can't see as much here. So I'm just curious.
Maybe not on this side, but on this side you can.
Yeah,
you can see a lot of strokes.
Like look at the sky. This looks like computer done.
Yeah.
Which it may be. Or digitally enhanced.
And then they force a fan art page in the middle of this chapter over here.
Yeah, waste a color page. That could have been one of the other ones.
Nonsense. I'm happy for all these people that made it into here, but nonsense. 2 months later? Is it really 2 months later? That's the one note I didn't pick up on. I guess they get this, and then 2 months later they get invited to the exhibit. So there's an exhibit that Yugi's grandfather's friends with the guy who found the stuff, and so he gets to get the kids in for free.
Yeah.
Yugi decides to wear his school uniform because Yugi's a putz.
Has no other clothes.
There's this greedy dude who runs the museum and sponsored the archaeological dig. Yeah. And
wants to make some money out of the dig, so he's going to try and take and sell Yugi's millennial puzzle.
Yeah, and then we got this guy Shoddy, which I might be mispronouncing his name. I don't remember how the anime did it.
Yeah.
But he's also got a couple of Millennium items, which you're going to find more about in this issue. The Millennium items are like powerful parts that the pharaohs used to use to...
are they in the card game?
Control people and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, they're not relevant to the card game, but there are... what do you mean by are they in the card game? Do they have their own cards in the card game?
Yeah.
No. But they are on some card art.
Okay.
The card game... This is... You got to realize, Chris, we're not actually at the card game yet. Okay. We've done one chapter of it with Kaiba and stuff. But even that, what was the purpose of that chapter? It wasn't the card game. It was to introduce Kaiba, the rival, right? The card game was just the coolest part of it. So here, we're pretty far away from the card game. We're just trying to build who Yugi is and, like, what the heck is up with this Egyptian puzzle that he's put together.
I cited this looked like a Bernie Wrightson Swamp Thing or something.
This is really good. And again, like, how competent is Kazuki Takahashi with horror stuff, right?
Yeah.
And even more impressive, I thought, was I'm sure he rendered this all himself as a fan of Egyptian culture and stuff. This is really cool. What was that?
I didn't even notice the second letters page.
Yeah. And it says he does backup punch, eh? It's Karibo with the wrong stats and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I wanted to mention, too, that Kazuki Takahashi does clothes really well. And I remember talking about the sneakers that he does.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Look at, like, all of the different clothes that they're all wearing in this panel when they show up here. And they all look natural.
Yeah.
And the shoes are all different and stuff. The way that this stuff falls looks really good. Even the way the bandages are wrapped.
Dude's crying.
Yeah, and they explain that he's emulating the feelings of this soul that's trapped here that can't go to rest because Egyptian mythology says that you need to be truly at rest in order to continue.
He's a pharaoh
to the afterlife, and so this pharaoh is not making it to the afterlife, and so it's bringing the sadness to Shadi. I don't want to summarize this too much. Shadi's going to help Yugi figure out a little bit more about the puzzle.
Yeah.
Shadi's also trying to take back the Egyptian things that were stolen, and he's going to go and punish this guy for being greedy.
Yeah.
And he's going to use the Millennium items to do so. He has two. He has the scale, the Millennium scale, and he has the Millennium key.
And all based in like the mythology of Anubis. He's like a follower of him.
Yes. And even further than Anubis is the rest of the gods, Osiris and the ones that you saw in that Egyptian drawing there. A lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is based in Egyptian myth, funny enough. They do more Egyptian mythology stuff than they do Japanese cultural stuff.
Yeah.
The card game, however, is spent a lot in Japanese cultural stuff.
Okay.
We'll pull out demons and things of that nature through that. So this guy, even though this is a shonen and, we're hanging out with this kid and his friends and we're doing the thing, there's a lot playing in the background that's going to come to light as the story goes on and stuff. Look how... it's the subtle things, that
Good watch.
that really shows that this guy's capable.
Yeah.
And Kazuki Takahashi actually doesn't drop backgrounds too often either. When he does, there are 4 panels like that crying Shadi a couple pages ago or whatever.
Yeah.
But most of the time, he actually puts his backgrounds at least like a floor into the panel and stuff.
You can tell we exist in space, which is the important thing.
Yeah, he's really good at setting that stuff up. And he's really good at creeping you out and scaring you. Here's another stuff that I makes me feel like...
Even this panel's cool.
This reminds me of Image Comics again back in the 90s with like crazy cool looking monsters and things that are going to make you think about this stuff later. Here's a cool panel right here too. Don't really need this at all. This kind of delivers the seriousness. And then you get the last question, which is, going to come out of his mouth, so it's pretty well used. I like these side shots of Shadi. It makes them look cool.
Yeah.
This is really ramping up. That's the whole point of this chapter, these 2 chapters, is we are getting Yugi to a point where Yugi is going to maybe make the realization that there's something going on with the Millennium Puzzle. This little eyeball appears a bunch across Yu-Gi-Oh!
Is that like
this like
Yami's
Egyptian
signal?
eyeball? No, it's just like an Egyptian lore thing.
Okay.
And also, how terrifying is it, right?
Yeah, it's cool. I thought these couple pages were really cool.
It looks like he's really ready to kill this guy,
In some ways, he is.
Two parallels here, too. Here's what's supposed to be Yugi's soul room.
Yeah.
Still the games and toys and fun stuff. And then here's the opposite. We're going to call it Yami Yugi from the show. Yeah. Terrifying, Egyptian kind of labyrinth pyramid thing that we're going to see in a moment. This was just a little bit of blurb talking about the history of Egypt and what the gods represent and the whole process of the afterlife and the Book of the Dead and what goes on. It was a cool background. You don't need it to read the story, but it does let you know that like all of the stuff that Takahashi is pulling from, he's pulling from actual stuff.
Yeah.
He's not making any of this up. So we keep on going, and Shadi gets trapped into... He doesn't get trapped. He's trying to figure out what the heck is going on with Yugi because he senses the 2 souls thing and wants to know that Yugi's a good guy if he's going to be wearing the Millennium Puzzle.
Yeah.
And so he gets trapped in here, and he's got to go through Yami Yugi's labyrinth. a giant maze to try and find the real door to the real soul, to know what's really going on, and he fails. He fails over and over again. And Yami realizes that he's not actually here to be, any negative. He's no villain. So Yami lets him go. He goes back to reality and stuff and tells Yugi, here's your puzzle. Keep an eye on this kid because you got more going on than you're aware of.
Yeah, my other self.
Yep. And then that's the end of it. So this one, this was good. Not as good as YuYu Hakusho, of course. Maybe not even as good as Naruto, even. But this was probably my third favorite, just because of the way things are drawn, how ramping up we are, the sense that we're going somewhere with this. We're introducing characters that are going to come back.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really capable. And again, we haven't even hit what Yu-Gi-Oh is known for, the card game. And still, this is a good manga even without the card game.
Yeah.
I'm hoping the card game doesn't take anything away from how good this is, actually. Because we're going to start, it's just going to be card games for a while, and that's just back and forth, talking. And there's action between the monsters, but I don't know if it's story-wise this exciting.
And there's other, Yu-Gi-Oh manga, right?
There are, yeah. There's a bunch of them that never make it into Shonen Jump, or at least not USA Shonen Jump.
Oh, that's nice.
And here we have Z, which I'm sure we're going to blow through, because not only was this simple, and we've beaten it up, and it's one of the greatest mangas that have ever existed. Greatest comics that have ever existed, but this is also a huge action, 2 chapters of action. It's Vegeta beating the crap out of Android 19 for a whole chapter. To the point of, ripping his arms off. And I need not spend any time complimenting Akira Toriyama's art as we did in all of Sand.
All of Vegeta's dialogue is cool here. When he's a character, Vegeta, Toriyama, that sets up to fail or succeed. And his ego and what he says is very dependent on that. And when he's succeeding, he just has so many cool lines. Is that blood or oil? A lot of good stuff.
And the best part of this, too, is he defeats Android 19, but in the process of defeating Android 19, he got sucked a little.
Yeah.
What I mean by sucked is these androids can steal energy and stuff, and so this android is stealing his energy for 4 or 5 panels here. And so he has to depower. And then he threatens Dr. Giro. Android 20 is like, you can come beat me if you want, but
you saw how I just took about your compatriot.
I don't think this is gonna pan out for you. And
total bluff.
And Dr. 20 blows it. And then he as soon as he leaves, first things he asks for is a Senzu bean, because he is beat. And then Piccolo goes and says, wow, Android 20 totally stood a chance there, and totally just went, and he compliments him. He's like, wow, he truly is a great warrior. Even his talk is enough to destroy an opponent.
Yeah.
So true for Vegeta, So they go and chase Android 20. And he wants to go to his lab, but he wants to do it in a way that he loses the Z Fighters. He's not going to be able to. Or at least not yet.
Yeah. Take some of Vegeta's energy.
He takes some of Vegeta's energy. By accident, basically, and now can move faster. It becomes a little bit more of a problem. Yeah. And then Piccolo he finds Piccolo first, and he zaps Piccolo some energy as well. And that's when Gohan gets not only psychically contacted, but he notes that the change in Piccolo's energy is enough to have the other Z fighters come and show up. It's a signal that's where Dr. Giro is.
So Gohan does something.
Yeah, he knocks the brain cap right off of Android 20 here. And then Piccolo gets a Senzu bean and tells Vegeta to chill the hell out, let me do this my own way. Kicks the crap out of Android 20 for the next 3 pages.
And this is the point where I imagine as a reader, you're like, this is kind of easy. Almost anticlimactic. They're destroying these androids that Trunks set up.
But what's cool is I'm sure everybody else reading this had low expectations from Piccolo.
Yeah.
And then here Piccolo comes in, not being a Super Saiyan, not training in the hyperbolic time chamber or anything. Houses Dr. Giro, even after he's stolen energy from Vegeta.
Yeah.
Clearly incompetent Piccolo, clearly took Trunks' warning very serious.
And he trained with Goku, and so, like, as a Super Saiyan, he kind of got to his level, is what is implied.
Yeah, that's definitely.
So he's the only person who also can accurately state how that Vegeta's probably stronger than Goku at this point. And I imagine if I'm reading this manga, I would be thinking Vegeta's the real threat after they deal with these androids, because he's a Super Saiyan, not really reformed at all, still is planning to kill everyone.
Right.
You know? So it's almost a little disappointing how this is going, and then Trunks shows up.
Which there is no transition here whatsoever, but it didn't bother me at all. I don't know why. Maybe it's because this had no words in it, so it gave you a moment to like realize we're somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then you got the speech from Trunks, and what a pose we got going on over here.
Yeah.
I think his arms are a little short now that I'm staring at this for too long, but
His mid-range is weird to read because there's no lines on it.
yeah, that's fair. And he's floating in sky, right? So
Yeah.
what basis do we even have?
It looks like he's standing on it.
It does a little bit. It cuts to Yajirobe and Bulma and stuff, and they're going to follow Trunks to the battle scene.
And
stuff.
Trunks tells us exactly why. This seems too easy. Gohan even says it. There's 2 more androids. These are the wrong androids.
That's what we find out. I mean, me and Chris and probably most of the people reading this know what's going on here. But yeah, this is such a big reveal that we got told there are 2 androids. We found 2 androids. We're defeating 2 androids.
We got told they were 19 and 20, at least in the manga version.
We got no problems with these androids, right?
We're destroying them.
Trunks shows up and goes, "This isn't the androids we're supposed to be fighting."
Yeah.
So that's like huge reveal. Huge. She's gonna change.
And
the
I think
course
it's
of-
really well done, which is why I was kind of pointing out just how he makes the action seem easy.
Yeah.
After Vegeta beats 19, you know, Piccolo is destroying these guys. There's 4 more Z fighters. We know Tien Shinhan is competent, at least in some level. We know Vegeta is more than competent.
Oh, yeah.
Krillin and Gohan are there, too. We know what those characters can do together. This seems unwinnable for Jiro, and we know that it doesn't have to be, because there's another set of villains coming.
So, small note.
Yeah.
This says next. Does not say to be continued. Isn't that odd?
Yeah.
If you look at all the other chapters in here, they always say to be continued at the end.
Huh.
Usually next, if we go and look at Sandland, usually next implies that there is another chapter
It's
right after that.
It's possible.
That they might have actually planned to do another chapter in here, but they substituted it with the second chapter of Sandland.
I'm gonna say this is the only manga we have evidence of actually being published at this time in volume format.
No. This ad back here. There's an ad, like as soon as you open up this jump, somewhere.
It's in the middle where they show off Dragon Ball, and I think
they
Yu-Gi-Oh.
are Yu-Gi-Oh, and there was something else. I swear, I'm close.
It's the next page.
Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. And
yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh has it, so my total theory is out the window.
No, but you know, you were almost right. That was the first volume of Yu-Gi-Oh there, and like a bunch of times in this manga, I think in the same way that it has it over here on the side, they're trying to plug that these are now coming out. You can now go and buy them.
And like I've said, I've checked the translations about every time, just because I'm curious, and it's the same thing I have in my release.
And Naruto and YuYu Hakusho are days away, I'm sure, because YuYu Hakusho is now on Adult Swim, which is sweet. Here we get to One Piece, which I have a bunch of notes for because this bothered me.
Okay.
What's with these covers? That's my first note.
I don't just wanted to do them.
I don't think, but if we look at the covers to all the other mangas in here, the covers are relevant to the story that's inside. This tells me nothing.
Yeah.
That bothers me. I want to know what I'm going to read. Especially if I've already set the expectation that the cover is going to tell me what's happening, and then I get to One Piece and I go, oh great, it's going to be a Nami story with this pig pirate, cut. No.
It's just a Nami story.
No, not barely even a Nami story.
Yeah. I don't think the Naruto one, they're just kind of cool images at this point. Naruto really doesn't have much to do with the story most of the time. It's usually just a pinup.
Okay.
So I feel like that was sort of typical of the time.
So maybe the expectations aren't high. I'm just expecting something more.
Well, yeah, because Dragon Ball is always like a poster.
It's the same with Yu-Gi-Oh! And Yu Yu Hakusho, the ones that I like to read. So we're back at it, though. That's the one thing I could compliment One Piece. It doesn't skip a beat. You keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going.
Clown Guy's got Luffy captured.
So we're back with the Clown Guys who's got Luffy captured. Okay, Chris, how is Luffy captured? He's made of rubber.
Yeah.
He can slip out of anything, no?
I've never seen Luffy, like...
Are his powers just never defined? Is that what's going on? Like, he can do anything, but he can only do certain things?
No, he's made of rubber, so he can stretch himself. He can't, like, shrink himself.
But he should be able to... If you stretch yourself, you should be getting thinner.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he does. I think it retains the same volume. So he can extend, he can't condense.
Okay. So, can he extend to explode?
I've never seen him do that.
Could he, like get so big, like, fill up the whole thing with his stretch?
He can fill himself up with other things. I've seen him balloon with, like, water if he wants to.
Okay.
I just don't think he can do that himself.
Okay. Because this, like, the cage, maybe I can swallow. It's the ropes that are bothering me. Yeah. I feel like he could slip out of these ropes pretty easy.
He might not want to.
I also am aware that he's an idiot.
Yeah.
You know, so... Maybe he literally isn't thinking about slipping out of the ropes, but it bothered me. Is all I'm leading to.
Yeah, it's fine.
This is hard for me to swallow that he gets captured when the man is, you know, almost capable of. He's not. He can't transform into other things, but he's transformative. Is what I mean to say. Yeah, and he gets through the progress of this manga. He actually does get some work done on that. It wears away. I can compliment that. Here's this clown guy.
He's gonna shoot Luffy with his cannon, which has special cannonballs, which really just have his face on it. They're not that special.
All of the background dudes are not very well rendered.
Yeah.
There. Yeah. And this is fun. So I'm not gonna complain about this one because this was fun. But, you know... Liam could draw this. We got a buddy named Liam who does Stickman Adventures, and you get what I'm saying here.
That's a cool panel.
Yeah, it is. And then he says like it would have leveled a smaller town and stuff.
Yeah.
And then later in this, it gets shot at his crew, and his crew are fine. They're all safe and hanging out and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's some inconsistency in like how the damage works from these balls that he's got.
He also is like a hype man. He believes himself better than he is. So, maybe he's just lying.
This doesn't look like he's lying.
Right.
but like if we go...
I think it just goes out to sea, like it goes over them. I really like... Oh, yeah, you're just going to skip to
that. No. We'll keep going normally. Sure. We'll get to it, I promise. My other complaint is I think some of the speech bubbles are confusing. Mm. These are fine. There are points, though, where the panels get small, and it kind of looks like the wrong words are coming from the wrong people.
Okay.
But we're moving along here, which is cool, and he does really keep Luffy's face really consistent.
Mm. That's what you get for dealing with pirates unprepared. Nami's not ready for this life, I guess. I don't know what he's trying to say there.
Well, she doesn't want to be.
Yeah.
I don't. Well, I'm not. I
thought this panel was cool.
Yeah.
I like this
was well done.
The shapes of all the characters.
Yeah, and the onomatopoeia being a portion of the panel too is really cool. And this causes a problem now. The clown doesn't think that Nami's on his side anymore, so now the clown's got to kill Nami, right?
Yeah.
And Luffy's still trying to chew through because this thing is now on fire because one of the dudes in the other panels that is part of the clown's crew set it on fire to help Nami.
Yeah.
And it is going. So in the meanwhile, Nami's taking out all these dudes. See how it's like being chewed down? He's actually making progress and stuff. And Zoro shows up out of literally nowhere. So this is another one I can't swallow because there's no magic in this world that I know of yet outside of the gum fruit.
Yeah.
They are on a roof.
Or the various devil
They are on a roof. Do you know how good your sight is on a roof? That's, pretty good. You can see everything, right?
Yeah.
How did he sneak up on them?
They're all focused on Luffy and Nami at this point.
I guess.
And no one should know where they are, but since he has... Wherever they went, I will give you that, he was dealing with Buggy's crewmates.
So I'm going to...
probably helped them.
I'm going to swallow it because I have to, but it made me do this. when I was reading. You know what I mean? I
just
was
to see if he was in the background.
is he somewhere?
There's a panel of
is
him.
he's just there? Not even like a drop in or he's just there.
Yeah.
And another question: how did they get this cannon on the roof?
Are they on this ship?
They're on a roof.
Okay.
Again, I'll show you the panel where they knock down all the houses. Here's the roof. Look at how big this cannon is compared to that roof. They say that it took 5 guys to get the cage up, to get the cage on the roof. 5 guys.
Took 10 guys.
Imagine the cannon's obviously heavier. Imagine 5 guys walking upstairs with a cage. Okay, now imagine 10 guys with a cannon. It's not going to happen. I'm 100% convinced they airlifted this in and there are helicopters in the One Piece universe. That's the only way. Unless there's magic. Unless Luffy lifted it up for him with his gum stretch. But I don't know if he can lift stuff. I don't know if the gum gives him strength more.
He is strong,
Weirdly,
but it's not the fruit.
Again, weirdly undefined power set, you know? I don't know what the hell is happening in this chapter anymore. I know what's the story. I know where the story is going.
Yeah.
But the actual chapter, I don't know what's happened. I don't know how the cannon got there. I don't understand the power of the cannon. I don't know how Zoro's there. I don't understand, like, what's Nami trying to do anymore? Is she trying to join his crew? Is she trying to get away from the clowns? Shouldn't she just be running away? What does she owe Luffy? Nothing. There's no reason. Gonna keep on going here.
Yeah.
This is cool though. I like all the Zoro stuff. Yeah, he's cuts him up and stuff.
Yeah.
We already know that he's eaten some gum or some devil fruit. We just don't know what it is, and we end up finding out.
Yeah, he's got the chop fruit.
This page was a waste of space.
Yeah.
This was Shonen Jump just doing funny stuff, trying to entertain the audience, I guess. I was distracted from the manga that it got shoved in the middle of instead.
Yeah.
Here's another one of these cover pages.
Weird that Shanks is here. I guess he's our coolest pirate we've ran into at this point, most legitimate pirate.
And we
skipped this chapter. So
yeah, they mention a couple times somewhere in this that Luffy is trying to emulate this guy.
Yeah, the straw hat he got is from Shanks. It's his whole goal. It's his real goal is to give the hat back to Shanks because he's become a good pirate.
I've also always thought that Luffy looked a little bit like him.
It's possible.
I don't know if that's going to ever go anywhere, but
No.
Well, you don't know. It's not over yet, Chris. It never will be. We got Zoro kicking butt. Until he doesn't.
He gets stabbed.
Stabbed by a floating hand. And then we find out he ate the chop fruit. Are they all ridiculously named? All the fruits?
They are in English. They're all just like what they do.
Yeah. Fair.
More or less. They're weird translations.
Yeah. That makes sense. That happens a lot with manga. Moving right along, we got Luffy is
calls him Big Nose. Sets him off.
Calls him Big Nose. Is about to be blown up, but has clearly got something up his sleeve because he instructs Zoro to go and do something specific somewhere. And over here. He tells him to run, but this must be code word that they've worked on because he doesn't run, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't run at all. I don't know when they've had the moment to actually work on code words. Again, gonna swallow it, keep on moving. Zoro goes, starts like fighting dudes, and his whole thing is he's gonna turn the cannon, which I don't know how you get that from run, but that's what happens. The cannon gets turned, and now Clown's crew's in trouble. Boom, they set it off, blows up. Look at that roof, destroyed.
Yeah.
Destroyed, right? But that path doesn't even look like the roof got destroyed. Like all of his crew's there, hanging out. It doesn't look like they dropped anybody. His crew wasn't that big to begin with in here. It's just inconsistencies. And then this is 5 guys.
Yeah.
5 guys. Zoro by himself.
Yeah, he's strong.
He's like giant metal cage with a human in it strong though?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like this arm.
He got the strong fruit.
Yeah.
Moving on. Last 2 pages over here. Luffy and Zoro are on the actual run. Nami is elsewhere, escaping, presumably, and the clown is pissed. You got anything to leave off on here, Chris?
No.
I like that Luffy calls the clown a freak. when Luffy is also a freak.
Yeah.
After like
Pretty hypocritical that way.
after finding out about the chop fruit.
His power set is like, I think it's pretty fun because it's borderline useless except for surviving, and that's what this character is going to become. Basically, a cockroach that just keeps living somehow. So.
Yeah, and you know, with the chop fruit, how would you kill a person like that? You could split him into all sorts of bits,
Atomize him,
and he'd probably come back. Here we have a summary and heavy spoilers for Dragon Ball GT.
Yeah.
I'm gonna skip most of the stuff here because if you haven't watched GT, you should watch it for yourself. It's not fair that they literally spoil every single part of GT here.
Yeah.
But they do mention somewhere that the drawings that are on this page are all Toriyama.
Yep, and he designed Giru and their ship. So he had some preliminary work. Everything after that isn't him. I wrote down...
But he did go and draw, like, the versions that other people have designed for him.
No, he designed these characters. He designed the looks of everyone in pre-production.
Well, that's not what they make clear here. What they make clear here is that Toriyama designed the features of Goku's spaceship and the robot, Jiru.
Okay.
In the other two paragraphs, that's not necessarily what they state. That being said, that's totally believable. He's not one who goes and draws other people's stuff.
And, if I had it, there's a diagram out there. Toriyama designed all the characters. Vegeta with the mustache, I think they even mentioned, was one of his things. Trunks has got a gun.
Yeah.
This is the other page I was annoyed they didn't color.
Really
just because,
cool.
I don't think these read as well without the color.
No, they don't. But they are really cool anyway. Really dynamic.
Oh, yeah.
Again, interesting shots, not normally taken.
I thought the scans were worse here than usual, too. They're very... It's probably just because the colors are kind of muted.
Blew this one up, too.
Yeah.
Waste of space.
Yeah, they're
fun
weird
for
jump guy.
kids and letters, I guess. Ad for Dragon Ball manga.
Another one.
Here's the letters page. I'm going to spend a little bit of time here, and the only reason for it is because a bunch of mangas are listed here. We got fans asking for Kajika, which I forgot what it was, but I totally have seen that before. We got fans asking for Kenshin.
I think Kajika was the Toriyama manga about pirates.
That's right. About. Yes. Yeah. It's like a Dragon Ball manga, but with like a pirate guy instead.
Yeah.
And Shonen Jump responds, so Kachika might make an appearance. I don't think it does. I've read enough to Jump.
Yeah. It's a one-shot, so it could just slide in there.
You might, yeah. And then they're like, how about when Sandland ends, throw Kenshin in? I think they literally take this guy's advice. Kenshin appears, like, within the year in Shonen Jump. And I'm a big fan of Kenshin. Black Cat, Hunter x Hunter. What they say in response to this guy is stupid, though. Mm-hmm. As they start,
they say they don't want two Togashi mangas running at the same time.
Meanwhile,
we're running two Toriyama mangas.
And, Oda now might be the second most famous guy right now in 2023.
Yeah.
But in 2003, I'd say it was probably Togashi.
Oh.
Or Misashi, but how much?
I don't think Naruto was that big yet. Like 5 years removed, it's Kishimoto.
Right. But, YuYu Hakusho's already on Adult Swim.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to double down on that? I don't know. Have you ever watched this?
Yes, one of my favorite ones.
It's so they pumped out.
This is the GT movie. So if you watch the Z movies, this is what takes up that time slot. But they used it as an excuse to make an anniversary movie.
This is a Dragon Ball movie.
I know it's it's the same staff and stuff.
Animators.
It is the GT staff working on a Dragon Ball movie.
Okay.
If it's the Z staff working on the Z movies, this is what they end up doing for a GT movie, and then they stop making the movies.
And there's a couple Dragon Ball movies, and what I remember of them is they were just summaries of the show, right?
It's like Dead Zone almost for the later two, but with the villains instead of like Garlic Jr., where they loosely take the story but add like a bunch of Chinese mythology into it.
Okay. But
Path to Power is 1-to-1.
They're playing
it's
the same
first
beats.
arc, but with the Red Ribbon Army instead.
Yeah, they're playing the same beats. They're truncating some of it. They're making it short. You could theoretically watch these movies and be fine. Go right into Dragon Ball Z, not miss a beat.
I mean, you miss everything about Piccolo.
He doesn't end up in the last movie?
No, it's all attention on and mostly Suru.
So you can watch the second half of Dragon Ball after you watch these movies.
And I think this movie is beautiful. I think this is the best looking piece of original Dragon Ball media. I think there's so many good cuts from here.
And to compliment,
and the colors are great.
And a lot of people don't like GT, so for Chris to compliment the GT team at all, I think is pretty big.
Yeah, the animators must be different because they're doing a lot more movement. I find GT very static a lot. A lot of stiffer movement than Z.
So moving on to the sports manga feature, which is 3 pages long.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of any of these, but I have respect for them. Eye Shield 21 is a huge manga in Japan. Number 10 is really big. There's basketball mangas. I can't believe Slam Dunk. Here's Slam Dunk creator. So Slam Dunk, this dude, I guess, this Takahiko Inoue has created 2 separate basketball mangas.
Yeah.
Then over here we have baseball, which this paragraph stresses that baseball is probably the most popular sport in all of Japan.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. And I think it was Misashi earlier in the interview, or maybe it wasn't, and maybe it was another interview, that says that they don't think that the Japanese baseball team is very good.
No, it was Kishimoto. I remember that. He was like, I like the MLB, but...
But they do mention the big famous Yankee player, Hideki Matsui, who is long retired now, but they did grab him from Japan. And there's one more page here where they mention Eye Shield 21, Prince of Tennis, and these golf mangas. Both Eye Shield 21 and Prince of Tennis are really popular. Both have gotten anime adaptations.
Yeah. When they did the Jump feature, where they interviewed people at the Jump Festa, this one was one that came up a ton.
Prince of Tennis even makes it into Shonen Jump. It's fine. It's not boring or anything. What I want to say about this is the same thing that Shonen Jump is really trying to say here, is that the reason why there are so many of these is because sports are really popular in Japan for teenagers.
Yeah.
And so if as a kid you read the Shonen manga and you might be over flooded with Shonen manga, it might be nice to get almost a slice of life kind of thing with some of these sports things.
And you got to remember, Shonen Jump is publishing the Japanese edition, a volume this size every week with 1 chapter in it. So like we have 2 or 3 for each of these manga to fill up the same or even a little bit less of the page space.
Yeah.
So they have to, there's way more stuff going on in the Japanese edition.
So it's nice to get different stuff.
Yeah.
We got an ad for the Babidi Saga Dragon Ball Z. This is a good time frame. The Dragon Ball Z card game only lasts for two more years after this, if that. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because it goes along with the show as it airs. Mm-hmm. So Babidi Saga, we're getting close to the end of Z over here. And unfortunately, the end of this really great card game.
They have to GT stuff?
They do. It's not the same.
Okay.
It's not. They try their best, and then they have to cancel the GT card game because nobody's buying it. Power creep is too high. Yu-Gi-Oh! Just starting out, on the other hand. Here, if you look really close, this card has the same eye that we saw in the manga here. Again, pouring on the Egyptian stuff. Pegasus, actually, that is the Millennium Eye. That's right. The Millennium Eye is an item. It's twisted once we get to that portion of Yu-Gi-Oh! How Pegasus ends up with this thing. But that's exactly what that art is. These 2 decks came after the Yu-Gi-Oh! And the Kaiba, the Yugi and the Kaiba deck. The starter decks are really, really popular. I loved how they looked. The presentation was really, really cool. Yeah. You got your character, you got the character's deck. Big Yu-Gi-Oh! Brand, big Konami brand on the top.
Is this the Jonoichi and someone else's decks? I think we saw those previous.
Yep. We might have seen an ad for them. That's how big these decks were, though. They
full page for them.
They deserve it too because they were awesome. I remember getting these and being stoked about it. Mm. Red Eyes Black Dragon relinquished huge cards in the anime, and then we're gonna spend the next 3 or 4 pages on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game because it's huge right now.
No.
It's on its like 7th or 8th set. It's 7th or 8th booster pack. And this is highlighting the next set that's going to come out in May called Legacy of Darkness. And it's just got a bunch of really important cards. Exiled Force is big. Drop Off is big. Some big cards, reinforcements of the army. We got the anime over here, which is clearly going. We got the 4 Kids insignia on it, which is confusing because they aired on WB. Anyway, last turn, banned card. Fiber Jar, banned card. This one was huge. This one, Chris didn't play this card game, so I'm going to describe this in terms that people can understand.
All right.
When this card activated, you had to shuffle your hand, your field, your graveyard into your deck, and draw 5 new cards. So this is like a soft restart in the game, and caused a lot of time problems, caused a lot of mad opponents who lost advantage because they ran into the card. Marauding Captain's another card that's important. Summon an extra dude. Creature swap. You can swap a creature with your opponent's creatures. Kind of set up your opponent for failure with that. And then here's the ad for the actual set that these are all coming out of.
Yeah.
We go to the One Piece movie, which has had an American release, just not as, like a big release. It's available on things like Crunchyroll and stuff.
Yeah, the most recent one was the first one to get a theatrical release, at least a somewhat widespread one. They released one last year.
Right. I remember them, doing stuff at New York Comic Con and stuff for it.
Yeah.
As Chris has mentioned to me before, usually these, just like Dragon Ball Z movies...
take the cast at the time, throw them in a what-if scenario.
Yeah, it's just a what-if scenario. It has no bearing on the actual series. It's just supposed to be fun.
Yep.
And what this article mentions is that this was a big thing for Japanese folk to go during the summer, go and see a big anime movie.
Yeah. Sort of helped to take the spot of the bi-yearly Dragon Ball films we get.
And, Hollywood movies get big, multi-country releases. So I wouldn't be surprised if Japan, knowing that their money was in manga, focused on doing animation more than they focused on getting, big-budget Hollywood movies done.
Yeah, and a lot of these movies actually serve to promote the manga, which is something I've heard a lot. That's why the Dragon Ball movies will premiere stuff almost day and day with the manga. Lord Slug sort of has Super Saiyan in it because they were trying to promote that Super Saiyan was going to be in the manga shortly.
Right.
Anime was months behind on that,
right.
So they almost spoiled it for kids at the time.
It's cool though; gets them excited to keep reading.
And what I've also been told is a lot of times the people who are watching the DBZ anime are manga fans who just want to see it animated. It's not the other way around like it is here, where anime fans go over to read the manga.
That makes a lot of sense.
The anime is really promotion for Shonen Jump.
Yeah, people in Japan are really dedicated to their mangas, and that's obvious because these things are still running, and that's the primary audience. America's the secondary audience for the stuff.
Yeah.
So, if you're addicted to your mangas and they're gonna visualize it for you and animate it for you, of course you're gonna turn out and see what the heck it looks like. I like that they even included Kobe in the movie, I guess.
Yeah, they usually throw characters in here that can't show up in the story for whatever reason. Kobe's doing something at this time, so
it's cool.
Just throw him in the movie.
Then we got an ad for Hack/Hack, more accurately, which I'm going to get confused for the rest of my life with Hack/, which is by Tim Seeley. Not relevant to this at all.
Yeah.
Moving on. We're at the end of the jump. We got some excitement for next chapter. This is one of my favorite Dragon Ball Z covers. And we're going to be talking about the Worldwide Edition Yu-Gi-Oh! Game, which is one of my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Games they put it out.
Nice.
Incorporated all the beginning Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff. Had a lot of great cards in it.
Is there a new manga in there?
There is, but they didn't really give us too much description. It says, martial arts manga and deadly serious fighting manga of the human body is the ultimate weapon.
Huh.
I don't
sounds like all of them.
I have no idea what that is. I do not remember it at all. It's gonna be fun.
I wonder if it's actually called martial arts manga. I doubt it.
That'd be funny. It's probably bad translation, realistically. And then we're at the end where they tell you you're an idiot for reading this backwards.
Yeah.
From Headphones Boy with bad feet. And we got the Boo Saga, which comes after the Babidi Saga. So this is summer 2003. The Babidi Saga ad, I think, was March.
This is
2003.
Yeah, this one came out in June.
Babidi Saga is already out. This is coming out in June.
Maybe
June, July. So 2-3 months, they're moving on to the next saga. You could tell that, really, in a year or two, it's all going to be gone.
Yeah.
And then we got the end, which is the same as the cover. You got any ending things to add here, Chris?
Oh, this is a pretty good volume. I think our best one was still the one where we had 2 interviews, the Toriyama and an Oda interview.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the most interesting stuff. Besides that, all the manga was good in here.
Yeah.
Besides maybe One Piece.
Yeah.
Definitely One Piece.
Yeah, One Piece was good. I just, I always have problems with that manga.
Yeah.
And it might even be partially because it's being shoved between all of these other mangas.
Right. And honestly, when you're predisposed to not enjoying something, it is harder to appreciate it.
But, here I am, loving Naruto.
Yeah.
When my whole life, I have not been a Naruto fan. So there's something that Kishimoto is doing that Oda is not doing that I'm appreciating more for some
Hitting
reason.
the runway?
Playing
his hand more?
Keeping my interest is really all it is.
Sure.
And I don't know what my interest is in manga necessarily. Same as comics. I read all sorts of... Well, I like to describe myself as a Batman fan. But here I am, reading Guardians and Daredevil and Phantom Road, So I can definitely expand my horizons. It's just that my horizons obviously do not expand to One Piece.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep reading it because I've still got hopes for it. I'm trying to figure out why the thing is still going. Because it, like Chris was saying earlier, it doesn't start out strong at all. This is like Chris's least favorite part of the thing.
Yeah.
And
it's funny though, I think.
Sure. Yeah.
I think it's
especially
a good gag manga.
Especially in the art. The art is hilarious.
And like last chapter we had one of my favorite gags where Luffy goes to get the seagull and gets stuck in its jaw 'cause it's massive.
Yeah. This might even be a better thing for me to watch because it might be fun to see how it's animated and see the responses of the characters and stuff. This doesn't. It feels like it might even lend itself to anime even more just because of the cartooning portion and stuff.
Yeah.
I'd say maybe the same thing with Shaman King. They could do Shaman King translates to anime very easily just because of the way things are drawn. Reminds me of kind of like that Bruce Timm style where they've kind of broken things down to simplistics, but still managed to get across a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
One Piece at this stage kind of looks like it might even be trying to be more complicated than it needs to be even.
In the art?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's a lot of backgrounds and stuff, and it's going to leave that, I'd imagine, once we get out to sea and start doing stuff. We're going to be stagnant, I'd imagine, on like either a ship or an island.
I will say the islands are very inventive. There's a lot of backgrounds and stuff.
That's cool. That'll be fun. But I think we banged this up pretty well. So stay tuned to the next issue of Shonen Jump, which I totally should have here and could have here, but forgot to bring out. But it's going to be the July 2003 issue.
It's Yugi
of course, on the cover again, right? Is Yugi on the cover, I believe, which makes sense because Yu-Gi-Oh is the most popular thing out of here at the moment, next to Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. We did not do a Weekly Wednesday Warrior this week because we ran out of time this week with everything was just so busy, so we apologize for that.
It was a potentially big week, too.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll list all of the stuff that we suggest to read in the next Weekly Wednesday Warrior. But please stay tuned. Keep watching the 20th anniversary. We're going to do as many of these as we can. We'll see you next time.
Have a good one.